Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about the different types of machine learning. Now, machine learning can be broadly classified into three main types, which are namely supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. So, supervised learning is task driven, unsupervised learning is data driven, and reinforcement learning is when the machine learns from its mistakes. So, let's talk about all of these types individually, starting with supervised. So, supervised learning you have the both input data and the output data, and you use an algorithm to learn the mapping function from the input to the output. So the machine sees both the input data and the output data, the correct labels of the input data, and then seeing the data, it learns the algorithm or the mapping function between them. The goal is to approximate the mapping function so well that when you have the new input data x, that you can predict the output variables y for that data. It is called supervised learning because we are providing the machine with both the input data and the correct output data. Also, prediction and the corrected labels. The machine sees the error and then corrects it in the cycle of algorithm immediately to get the best result. So it's like the machine is being supervised. Thus, this is called supervised learning. Now, supervised learning mainly has two types of problems. One is classification and the other is regression. So classification problem is when each of the input variable can be categorically put into some output variable. Like the ball can be red or blue. The person can have the disease or the person cannot have the disease. So each input data can be categorically put into some output label. Whereas in regression problems, it deals with real life data like the cost or the weight or the age, all right, which we have to predict. So this is supervised learning. Now let's talk about unsupervised learning. So in unsupervised learning, we have the input data, but we don't have any corresponding output variables. So the goal for unsupervised learning is to model the underlying structure or infer patterns or distribution in the data in order to learn more about the data. So as you can see in this, we have a couple of fruits here, and the machine sees the similar kinds of fruit and then it separates itself. Like this is apples, this is peaches, and this is probably avocados, right? So this is unsupervised learning. So it's called unsupervised because there's no supervision. I'm only giving the data to the machine and the machine has to learn the pattern or see the underlying structure itself. And that's why it's unsupervised. The main types of unsupervised learnings are basically clustering and association. So clustering is basically a clustering problem is where you want to discover the inherent groupings in the data, such as grouping customers by purchasing behavior. So that's clustering. In here we are clustering. We are making a cluster of apples, we are making a cluster of peaches, we are making a cluster of avocados. And then association is when an association rule learning problem is where you want to discover rules that describe large portions of your data, such as people that buy the product X or the people that buy the product Y. So that's also unsupervised and that's called association rule learning. Now lastly, let's talk about the reinforcement learning. Before that, as you can see that unsupervised learning depends greatly on the data given because we don't have any corrected labels, so it depends greatly on the data that's been given. So that's why unsupervised learning is very much data driven. Alright, let's talk about reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is when the machine learns from its mistakes. So a machine is employed with a lot of softwares and algorithms only for the purpose for the machine to find the best path. Okay, so beginning the machine would do a lot of mistakes, but then it would be penalized when it's creating a mistake and it would be rewarded when it's giving the correct prediction, and this would go on a cycle until the machine learns the best path to the corrected output. So as you can see from this example, if this is an apple, firstly it will predict that maybe it's a mango. Then we are penalizing it by saying no, it's wrong. So the machine learns this and then with cycle it predicts then fine, it's an apple. So that's reinforcement learning. So with the absence of the data set, the machine has to learn from the experience. And that's basically the gist of what reinforcement learning is. Agent or the reinforcement learning agent interacts highly with the environment. Then it states whether it's the correct prediction or it's the wrong prediction. It would be penalized for a wrong prediction and it would be rewarded for a correct prediction. And this would go on a cycle until the machine finds the best path. So those were all the different types of machine learning, and I hope you guys found this useful. Thank you.